Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. أما بعد أحبتي في الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته أسأل الله كريم رب العرش العظيم أن يتولنا في الدنيا والآخرة. أحبتي في الله, I want to talk about something very briefly, and that is about child custody in Islam. And from a very brief general perspective of some things that we have to keep in front of us when it comes to children in Islam. And this is a good reference for us all, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, especially for those who have been through divorce and have had children involved. So Islamically, you want to always look for the maslahat atfal, meaning the benefit for the children. You want to always do everything possible to keep that in front of you, because many people, unfortunately, there's many what we call deadbeat fathers, meaning that they are men who don't take care of their responsibility. And yes, that happens in Islam. There are throughout the world many Muslim men who fail to take care of their responsibility. They don't spend on their children, they don't spend on their wives, and they don't do any of their religious duties. So as we coin in America, especially the phrase deadbeat dad, this is a travesty in Islam, that a Muslim child would not have that support financially from the father, who it's a responsibility in Yawm al-Qiyamah, he will pay if he doesn't pay now. So first, one of the first principles is having the best interest of the child. The child's physical, emotional, and spiritual, meaning their deen, is absolutely critical. And the decision should prioritize the children's needs and the parents' their general desires, meaning not just their whims, but their desires with related to, considering what people's ability is and who's going to be best suitable and who wants to take the responsibility if it's an optional situation. Secondly, the asl is, as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, that the mother has the right initially for custody, as long as she is mentally, spiritually fit, or maybe even physically fit, and Allah knows best. But that she needs to be able to take care of them. But the basis of the right is her, because the mother, as the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam has mentioned, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has let us know from the fitrah of his creation, that women generally are more merciful, more loving and affectionate. Generally, that is their nature. Generally, of course, people change their nature, and people change even their bodies nowadays, and even take medicines to change their hormones and change their fitrah. But in general, the asl is in Islam that the mother has the right to custody. And that has to do with their mercy. And first and foremost, this is what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, and this is what the fuqaha have operated upon traditionally, as long as she's suitable. So let's just look at quick two scenarios. If she's a drug addict, she doesn't pray, she's not a righteous person, she's like literally harmful towards the children, she hurts her children, or whatever, has all kind of evil, then this would be something that the Islamic court, the judge, or whoever can adjudicate would consider that and maybe give it to the custody to the father. So the father generally second. Fathers, so while the mother has the physical custody, the father is often responsible, or no, I shouldn't say often, he is responsible for ensuring the child's religious and moral upbringing if he is somewhere near in the picture. If it's a distance thing, he's in one country, she's in one country, then he can facilitate that by finance, like making sure his children from a distance learn the Quran, paying for their lessons and things like this in order for their spiritual well-being. And however, I definitely want to mention that regardless of his relationship with the wife or the ex-wife or ex-wives or what have you, he is responsible for the children. The husband, the man, is responsible for his children. Another point in the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned which shows us that custody arrangements can change as a child becomes older. So the asl, those young children, they're with the mother. If the mother decides to marry, then the father, in general, if he's suitable, has the right to take custody of his children. And that's also in Islamic law. But as I said, some of these things, there's going to be a lot of factors involved in that. But as children get older, especially with the boys, that, the man should take that responsibility and begin to, teach his children to have his boys especially. And the girls have a little bit more leeway in choosing whether they want to be with their mother and father. And again, this is very important, and this is why Islam encourages us to have shura, to have counsel, and to have amicable agreements and relations, that we're not at war and hating one another, exhibiting that in front of the children, and at the same time tearing the children in different ways. And something I want to mention, this is also a tragedy we find in many households where they have been broken up, is sometimes the mother will have custody of the children and she poisons the hearts of her children, or she forbids her ex-husband from seeing his children unless he is a true harm to them, like he's a drug addict and he's, something very dangerous for them, that he has that right. That is a right she should not prohibit, even if she's protected in non-Muslim lands and non-Muslim laws. She should not prohibit the father, as long as he's not abusive and beating her or beating the children or threat to see his children. Another point is she should not poison their hearts. Even if she knows negative about the father, she should still try to cover his faults, because it enters the hearts of the children, anything you leave with him. Also, vice versa. If a man has custody, in those cases where men do have the custody, don't poison the children's heart, even with the mistakes of the mother. Do everything possible to still kind of cover the fault, because at the same time, you don't want to teach your children to dislike their parents, the other parent, or to be disrespectful, because even if the father was a wicked sinner, you still don't want your daughter or your son to grow up and disrespect them, even if he was a wicked person who didn't take care of his duty, or vice versa. So you want to try to maintain some this balance of respect and goodness. What are some ways that we can deal with this, and how should we Islamically kind of deal with this, these issues? First, we should, even before marriages break up and after marriages break up, seek mediation. Meaning seek mediation, hopefully, if you have a community around you that is knowledgeable, or an imam, or preferably an Islamic judge, or something like that, or someone who can arbitrate disputes, or people from both families, and people that will not be so biased is very important. Because I know in many societies, for example, and I'm not picking on the Somalis, but I'm very familiar that a lot of times it'll be tribal disputes. And we've seen marriages break up because this tribe versus this tribe. They're, Rehamar, and this one is Rekoi, or something like this. And they just, all kind of problems enter because of tribalism. So you want to be, and I'm just using that as an example because I'm familiar, but I know in Afghanistan, I know Pakistan, I know India, and a lot of different cultures, they have these kind of disputes based on that with tribalism. So you want to seek good, just counsel. Secondly, it's very important to document agreements. So if you come to an agreement and you're not dealing with a court system or something, it's good to, if the husband and wife, the exes, can even document, hey, here's what we're going to work with. And that's something up until now I didn't really think about, but it's very important. Documentation is very good. That maybe going to the local imam and masjid or Islamic center and document an agreement. Hey, especially if you're not dealing with the non-Muslim court system, secular courts and so forth, that you document it. Okay, you're going to have the children on Tuesday, I'll have them on Wednesday, and stuff like this. To have some kind of good agreement that's beyond verbal, because it's easy to say he said, she said. So very important. Think about documentation. Another point, ahabati fillah, is focusing on the children. Focusing on the well-being of the children. That is always should be first and foremost. And I know that our emotions and our desires and ex-relationships and things and oppression that could have happened and this could have happened, but strive your best to keep the interest of the child at heart. Also, do your best to maintain respectful, Sharia compliant communication between the ex-husband and the ex-wife. Try your best to make things Sharia compliant and also amicable, like respectful communication, not trying to harm one another, because you're going to need one another for all kind of things, especially in the West, but really around the world. You're going to need documentation. Oh, the woman wants to travel overseas with the children. Well, she's going to need something, document from the father that maybe has to go through the court system or a lawyer or a notary or something like this. There's all kind of things that go on. So it's very important to strive your best to have good, respectful, Sharia compliant communication. Also, very important, lastly, I want to say, is consult Ahl al-Ilm. Strive to consult maybe preferably your local scholars and imams that are grounded in knowledge to be able to deal with the issues you have. Because also when you try to bring outside, and I'm even saying this, that even overseas, you're trying, we have our beautiful scholars we love who have so much ilm and so much to offer us, but also they may not know and be aware of the system you're operating, what it's like in America. So it's good if you have knowledgeable students of knowledge or mashayikh that are local, that know the situation and know the society and know how to make a hukum that's practical, that can be practice that you can practice, and that is understood in the context of the society. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, to accept our good and forgive our evil, protect us all from kulli su'in wa makruh, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.